Mythos Busters, investigating the mystery, monsters, and madness of Arkham Horror, the card game.
Hello, and welcome to episode 123. That's 123. Mythos Busters for me. I'm Sean. Joining me tonight, it's Wednesday. It's weird. Is Nick. Hey, Nick.
Hello.
Is Wednesday also weird for you?
Wednesday's the weird day. That's very true.
Mm-hmm. That's why it's so named.
I heard that when they wanted to come up with a name for the middle day of the week, I'm already losing steam. I don't know what this
it was
joke
named
is
after
doing.
the Norse god Weirden. I didn't know where that one was going either. Joining us as well is Ian. Hey, Ian.
Hello.
How's your Wednesday?
It's good. I'm filled with shepherd's pie, which is not a euphemism. I'm actually filled with shepherd's pie. It was delicious.
Okay, now tell us, if it were a euphemism, what would it mean?
Something with Mass Effect, I would imagine.
What?
I wasn't going to go that route, but, you know. I'm down.
I guess some kind of food fetish, at least.
Not
all right.
the weirdest fetish attached to Mass Effect, but...
I, too, have been on the internet.
For any amount of time.
What was there's an actual in-universe zoophilic porn in Mass Effect. What was it? Fornax?
That sounds like
right.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. You can like find a copy or two of it laying around. And it's got like a Hanar in a seductively sprawled pose.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't know why I know so much about Fornax.
I was going to say, I don't think anybody wanted to, even if that was the wrong name, I don't think anybody wanted to correct you.
Let's not walk any farther down that path.
That would be amazing if that didn't exist in the game and Sean just totally revealed his.
Just totally my own headcanon. Just wait for the spacesuit issue. It's the best.
Oh, no.
So we've got a nice, fun, and relaxed episode lined up for you guys tonight. We're going to get caught up on some pretty sparse intros as we normally do. We're going to continue our player card reviews for the Edge of the Earth Investigator expansion. And then, of course, we'll round it out with some Tentacle time. But before we do any of that, let's get to some updates. So first, and most exciting for us, is that the first part 1 of Edge of the Earth Dissonant Voices is available.
Yay.
So it goes all the way up through part 1. It's a whopping 2 hours of edited audio. And
yeah, so enjoy it.
Yeah, and it's like 3/4 Nick. So so definitely enjoy it. You did, okay, so legit, quick aside, I was very impressed with your voice work, sir. And
thank you.
You did distinct voices for the partners, and it made me very, very insecure about my entries. So
I was so worried because I got to a point where I was like, I got done recording everything and I went back and I was listening to and taking out the egregious, issues where I had to stop and restart. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh shit, I think I just spoke as Avery when I should have been Elia. I was like, it's fine, nobody's gonna notice. so dear listener, if you happen to find that spot, that's a gift from me to you.
I need to go listen to it. Yeah. I know I didn't go as far as doing distinct voices. I just tried to.
I mean, calling them distinct is being very generous.
I did have a cheat sheet where I wrote each person's name and like a keyword and how I imagine them in my head. So
that is exactly what I did as I was editing. Well, Nick's stuff was all edited, but as I was inserting and doing everything on the back end, I was writing down a quick little description for how I imitate the voice to try to keep it consistent. So, so part 1 is out there. That goes all the way through Fatal Mirage, I believe. Where did I say I ended it?
It's either Fatal Mirage or Forbidden Peaks. It's
Yeah,
one
it
of
goes
those
through
two.
Forbidden Peaks. There you go. Yeah, because I'm about to pick it up with Interlude too.
Right.
So that's out there, and thanks to North 101 at him in chat, if you want to thank. It's very quick work, and that is now up in the Arkham Cards app for those who are integrated. So, again, Dissonant Voices, real quick, is our voiceover project available to our patrons at any level. You can hear our dulcet tones reading you the story inserts, and boy, I don't even know if you can call Edge an insert at this point. It is. I am the thing in which something is inserted.
I would say if it's an insert,
Edge.
it's leaving scars.
Yeah. Just warm up. Lots of lube. Go slow. Listen to your partner. Yeah, so that's out there. So check that out. You can find more information on our Dissonant Voices project on our website and on our Patreon. So, guys, let's check in. What Arkham have you been playing lately? Anything exciting? Nick?
Sure. I recently finished the first campaign for Achievement Hunter. That's the only Arkham I've really played recently. Was returned to Lost in Time and Space as Ashcan Pete sans Duke. As anyone who has either listened to the episode or even just read the title of the episode, it went shockingly well. To the point where I was getting messages from people saying, this is kind of suspect, that you pull this certain token 3 times in a row. And I'm like, no one is more shocked than I am. And then after I got those messages and I got home from work that day, I went and checked the bag I used just to be sure it wasn't like the extra tokens bag. And no, it was the actual campaign bag. So
Yeah, that shit happens.
So,
like, everyone's played
it
Arkham,
does.
right? Like, we talk in statistics, but brother, we live in anecdotes. So weird shit happens with the bag sometimes.
Exactly. So, but I encourage people to go and listen to that because it was a wild ride. Came out with, I think, 8 of the 14 achievements. 6 or 8. I got a significant chunk in that one campaign, which felt pretty good. And so
Nice.
now I will be gearing up to run it again. Also, again, on easy mode. I'm kind of feeling like when I eventually do the expert run, that will just be the expert run, and I won't try and do any other achievements because trying to do like expert Night of the Zealot with Gloria and also doing, I think, 2 other achievements, it was hell. So now that Dunwich is 8 scenarios, not just 3, and if I have to play all 8 on expert, I think I'm just going to focus on that. So that's going to be its own campaign. So the next one I'm going to do, I'm going to try and loop together defeating, there's a few different things where I have to get a lot of allies in play, the story-specific allies. They have to survive Blood on the Altar, and I need to identify the solution. And so, like, there's this combination of I need to be able to go fast, but also pull allies out. And I also want to have damage on my side, too. But I need to be Seeker so I can identify the solution. So I'm like, I guess I'll try Joe Diamond, which his 2 will kind of worries me.
Yeah.
But I don't know who else to really... who has that Seeker access.
Have you considered Ursula?
I mean... Yeah,
Like
but
calling in favors Ursula.
her damage output isn't super. I guess I was thinking of trying to make sure I have Guardian access, but I suppose you can upgrade her into it with like the bow and stuff. I have to look at the exact achievements I need, but Ursula might be a good choice as well, just because she's super fast, and she would definitely make Essex County Express like the no problem. That was something that I learned with Ashcan. Like, wow, moving and investigating in one action kind of trivializes this scenario. So yeah, I'll think about Ursula. That's a good pick, Sean. I didn't even think about her originally.
She might struggle a little bit for the damage at first. You can always upgrade into a bow if you keep your hand slots clear.
Right.
She's got options. I don't know how much XP in Dunwich you're going to have left after you upgrade Strange Solution. That might be like half the campaign's experience.
Yeah.
But, should be fun. Should be fun either way.
Right. But yeah, that's the only Arkham I played, was finishing up that campaign. So I'm excited to get to whatever is next for Achievement Hunter, and also to start another Edge of the Earth campaign pretty soon here as well. Get through that a second time.
Excellent. Ian, how about you?
So I've been continuing my Luke and Daniela campaign through Edge of the Earth, which they continue to do pretty well. They're a pretty good team. Obviously, Luke does well in a campaign that tends to have very big maps, and just popping around the map has been working out for me. But the other thing I've tried is I finally tried Parallel Windy. So I'm starting through Return to TCU, because I realize I haven't finished a full campaign of Return to TCU yet. And sometimes when it's been a long time since I played a campaign, I don't really feel like continuing it. I just want to start a new one. So I don't remember anything that happened. So I thought it might be a good time to try Parallel Windy. So I'm running Parallel Windy on one side and Sled Dog Leo on the other side. Because that's another build that I haven't tried yet. So I think so far the Parallel Windy is going better than the Sled Dog Leo. Granted, I've only played one scenario so far. But all my Sled Dogs were buried towards the bottom of Leo's deck, unfortunately.
Ain't it always the way?
Yeah, I got one out pretty much right away, and then the remaining 3. And I was able to... I hit his Elder Sign like 2 or 3 times, at least 3 times throughout the game. No luck. Did not hit a single ally anytime.
Oh man!
And I have Sled Dogs and Guard Dogs on there. It's
right.
Dogs all the way down. But was not finding any. I think I only had 1 ally out, plus Mitch Brown. That's all I was able to get.
Oh, of course you get Mitch out.
Yeah, he was just sitting there. He was just a soak at that point. So.
For those extra ally slots you're not using.
Yeah. So hopefully those dogs will show up a little more in future. Parallel Windy was interesting. I built her because you can kind of go a bless route or curse route or both. I decided the curse route looked a little more interesting to her, so this is a cursed Windy. I'm running her with some of the curse spells, with the idea that when she throws curse tokens on enemies, I can use those curse tokens to trigger stuff, the effect on Armageddon or Chaos. And I was able to do it a couple of times with Armageddon, especially towards the end to defeat. There's like a big crowd of witches. I was playing the what is that scenario called? Is it
the Witching Hour?
It's the Witching Hour, right?
The first one, yeah.
I second guessed myself. Yeah. So there's a big crowd,
Can't be that easy.
It was able to pay dividends then when there was a few enemies with chaos tokens on them, and I was able to just pop them on to trigger Armageddon a few times, which helped take out the boss. So nice. I'm interested to see where the build goes. I think it has some potential, and might be one of the, because I know I've talked before on the podcast that I don't always have the best relationship with curse builds, but this one feels like it might work. I don't know. It's feeling good so far.
Awesome. Slip me that list. I'm gonna wait until FFZ has Parallel Wendy to actually play around with her, but she is way up there on my list. Regular Wendy is on my list to take another go at. It's been a good long while. Cool. Well, for my part, I'm continuing my easy campaign with my kiddo and wife through Innsmouth. And finding that even on easy with the bad stuff tokens and how many actions you need, it is still tight. Difficulty only does so much, but we're having a good time with that. And then on my personal side, Nick, the reason I mentioned my disdain for how few XP are in Dunwich, I'm playing Return to Dunwich campaign right now.
Sure.
Currently trying out Norman and Bob and Norm. It's been pretty fun. So my Norm build is doing a pretty standard Norm thing. I mean, I don't know. I've played so much Norman at this point. When he released it was like, meh.
How many ways can you go with them? Like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's not too many.
Right.
I do like I really like Blur in Norman.
Sure.
I mean, I really like Blur in general, but in Norman, I think it's particularly good. So having fun with that. So my Bob build though is doing the Lonnie and fur coats combo,
Nice.
and
Wait,
that
fur
has
coats?
yeah the heavy furs.
Oh, heavy furs. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's a lot of fun because it gives you because Bob can run both Lucky and 21 or Bust. No, it's not 21 or Bust. What's the other poker blackjack themed card? That's it's like Rogue Lucky. Someone knows what I'm talking about. Hit me.
Yeah,
It's Hit Me.
Lucky.
Yeah.
Hit me.
Yeah.
Oh,
So he's
sure.
running both Lucky and Hit Me. So between an everlasting magical heavy fur, Hit Me, and Lucky, like I've got so much mitigation from missing tests. It's been pretty fun. It's I just picked up Geish for the first time because both of these decks are running low on skills, and generally I'm doing God. Bob's tableau is so big by the time he gets everything.
Yeah,
out.
right.
So by the time I'm now my second campaign into actually playing with Geish. It's pretty easy to just say, no, I think I'm done playing stuff, or I probably don't need to commit anything else. And then you're just in battlecruiser mode for the rest of the scenario. It's pretty great. Network, I never know. You always know. Don't ask me if it's pronounced a certain way. I know it's pronounced a different way than
I guess I always
it.
said gas, but I'm probably wrong too.
I think we made a joke that it was gayish on one podcast, and that's just kind of stuck in my brain.
Oh boy.
But anyway, that's been fun. I am trying. I cheated, guys. I cheated. I'm gonna admit to you right now. I cheated. I wanted to do a run where I rescue Peter Clover, and oh my God, the House Always Wins shat on me so
really?
hard, so hard. I drew literally every enemy in the deck. And then just trying to resign, I ended up just almost getting knocked out. So I just said I did it because I did really well in that. I did really well in that scenario, and fuck if I'm playing it again.
Yeah.
And I just cheated. It's fine. I cheated. I'm not gonna defend it anymore. I cheated.
Did you remember you cheated, or are you just
This
are you
is
going
the first
that route?
playthrough of that campaign where I thought about it for a quick second because it's got that new treachery that
Yeah.
so you take a damage in a horror or remember you cheated or something like that. Might be raise the stakes, something like that. But there was a moment where it was like, oh my God, I think cheating might be my best option right now. But I didn't because I don't want that token in the bag. That's gross.
Right.
Who needs it? But anyway, I am also reminded very much how few XP are on the board for the majority of Dunwich, and it feels a little bit like starvation. I've gotten used to plentiful XP, and just the game puts so much pressure on it. Sometimes you have to make choices, whereas Dunwich is just like, nah, take it or leave it. I guess
there's one choice, and it's grab it when it's there.
Yep. Anyway, so that's been fun, and then really excited this Friday. It probably will have been last Friday by the time anyone listens to this. Scott and I are going to hopefully pick up and finish our speed run campaign through the Dream Eater side with our speed running Jack and Ursula.
Nice.
So I'm very much looking forward to that. All right. Woo. So that's that. We don't have any voicemails this time around. Ian, what do we got going on with patrons?
Alrighty, so first off, thanks as always to our board members. That's Chris B, Chris H, Chris M, Morton, Jared, Ian, Kyle, Philip, Patrick, Abilio, Jesse, Chad, and Robert. Thanks so much for your huge support of the podcast. And our special shout out to a random patron this time around goes to Tom Webster. Thanks, Tom, for your support as well. Make sure you check out mythosmerch.com as always. If you've purchased any of our merch, make sure you send us any pictures you have of you wearing it in the wild or any fun interactions in the wild with our merch. Other than that, I think that's about it for patron business this time around.
Ooh, high and tight.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. News. I guess let's talk about the FFZ thing first.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Well, okay, you said first, so you obviously have something else. But yeah, if you have been waiting to get official printed versions of the Parallel Investigators, you can now do so up to Wendy, not including Wendy at this point. But FFZ is printing them and selling them from there, so you can order them from the Game Center. I'm excited to do that and to actually have physical versions of those cards in my hands. So,
And what
how
a
much?
good
How much
use
is it?
of that POD printer that they bought from FFG,
Yeah.
supposedly. Allegedly.
Agreed.
How much is it? I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
the novella pack is less than the cost of a novella.
Oh, right, it's the novella pack. Yeah.
I'm trying to look it up right now.
And I think each of the parallels is like $8 plus shipping,
Nice.
obviously.
Who am I? Oh, so the novella pack is all of the novella investigators, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Correct.
So I'd be ordering double copies of all of them just so I can get Gloria, which I think she's worth it.
She's
worth
worth
it.
15 by herself.
Yeah,
Totally. Absolutely is.
Mhm.
Fucking love Gloria.
She's so good.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like you're breaking the game when you play as Gloria.
Mm-hmm. Especially in solo.
Yes,
I'll be very interested to see what I can do with her in 4-player. Because I'm planning to play her in Iron Man, and that'll be my first 4-player Gloria run, and it's going to be taxing, and it's going to be awesome. Fantastic. All right.
But that was all the news I knew of. So
all right. Well, not necessarily Arkham Horror related, but so a friend of the show, Will, who is known around these parts as the Podfather. You might know him from his contributions to the White Book podcast and Two Champs and a Chump in the Game of Thrones LCG community. He's the Podfather. That was like the first LCG podcast, and it got like Cardboard of the Rings rolling, and then Cardboard of the Rings like eventually got Grey Company going, and then Grey Company and Cardboard of the Rings traces its lineage here. Or other way around, vice versa. Anyway, so Will reached out, and he's doing some game development on the side nowadays, and he thought that his latest game might be relevant to our listeners' interests, and I agree. So I want to give him a quick prop here. He's got a Kickstarter up. So this Kickstarter is for Twilight War, which is an expansion to Will's RPG system called Party First. And basically, kind of summing it up here, it is an alternate 1980s Cold War era, focusing on Soviet espionage, but with like a supernatural and eldritch twist. It seems really cool. It's a D6 system. It's alt history 80s horror. I mean, who doesn't love that shit? And then as well, this so Twilight War is an expansion to that, adds a bunch of new NPCs and encounters and classes. Looks really cool. So go check that out and give it a prop. It's like $300 from its goal at this point, so it's gonna go. If you want to get the core book, the original Party First book, that is one of the levels of this Kickstarter, so you don't have to worry that this is an expansion. So go check that out. Friend of the show, Will, generally does good work, so I feel like that's going to be a really cool thing. I'm backing it, and I don't back things very often anymore. Cool. Scott's not here, so no rules.
no rules.
There are no rules.
Yeah, because Scott's the strict one. All right, so let's hop back into Edge of the Earth. Player card reviews. Holy shit, we're a half hour in, guys. You know how many cards we can review tonight? we might actually do the mythical 90-minute episode.
Well, now that you said it, it's
Don't speak its name. I know.
All right, summoning it like the tentacle. So I believe last time we left off on Scout Ahead. Yeah, Ian, you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure thing. Because, spoiler alert, I love this card. Okay, so this is a rogue card. It is a level 0 1 cost rogue event. Scout ahead has 2 agility icons, insight, and trick traits. Move action, move up to 3 times. Enemies do not engage you during this movement. Very simple, but effective.
It's like, wow. There's no downside.
Yep. It's cheap. One cost, 1 action, move 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out movement is pretty good in this game.
And with Chuck, it's fast and free.
And you get to be +2 to some irrelevant skill while you do it.
Well, you probably,
So comparable to The Truth Beckons, yeah?
Sure, yeah.
Way better?
Oh, yeah, because
I
Truth
would
Beckons
argue.
doesn't ignore enemies, does it?
Yeah, you could potentially get more moves out of it if the map works with you, but like
Right.
how often do you need to move 4 locations away to do what you need to do?
Yeah. Sean, this would have been perfect in House Always Wins.
It sure would have. I definitely did regret this not being one of my 5 splash for Bob, but it definitely wasn't. So yeah. I don't know. Pretty great card. So the one thing I will say though is this has generally gone in most decks that can take it.
Right.
However, recently I didn't put it in a deck where I think a lot of people might have argued that I should, and I don't know that they're wrong. But in my Speedrunner Jack deck, specifically for Dream Eaters, I decided that it wasn't going to get the same amount of value that it would in other campaigns. Just because on the Dream side of Dream Eaters, so much of the map kind of unfolds as you go.
Yeah.
That I ultimately decided that this wasn't a good call. But I think for most obviously my point being here, it's kind of map dependent, and it's not necessarily great everywhere. But I think in most campaigns and most maps, particularly in solo, if you've got a lot of moving to do and a lot of objectives to punch, this is such insane value.
Yeah. And at level 0. Like,
yeah.
It would be
level
totally
0.
worth 1 experience, 2, maybe even 2. But,
Yeah, it has that trick trait for the Rita fans out there. In case you want to, I think you could have a speed challenge with Rita and like with her ability and this and track shoes and see how many locations you can move in a single.
My God, yes.
Single turn.
Forgot about track shoes. What a good card. Well, that's a really good card, and I guess that's all we have to say about it.
that's
Yeah.
All right, Nick.
21 well, okay.
Yep. I mean, I feel like it had to be you.
I'm fine with that. I still feel kind of bad for taking it from Ian, but not so bad that I'm going to give it to him the second time around. So 21 or bust is a level 0 rogue event that costs 2 resources, has a combat, agility icon, fortune, and gambit traded. The game text reads, 1 at a time, reveal random tokens from the chaos bag until you choose to stop. Treat each skull, cultist, tablet, or elder thing as a 5. The tentacle as a 10, and the elder sign as either a 1 or an 11. If the combined value of those tokens, ignoring plus and minus, is 18 or less, gain 4 resources, 19 or less, gain 5 resources, 20, gain 6 resources, 21, gain 9 resources. I love it. I love it. I have used this frequently since I got my hands on it, and I don't think I've ever busted. But there was one game that I had this in Trish, and Jacqueline was the person she was paired with, and so it felt like it felt like cheating. Using Jacqueline's ability to just make sure I get 21 over and over and over again.
Bringing those X-ray goggles to blackjack. like a bad spy movie. So a level 0 card that can potentially net you 7 resources is pretty great. God, is this just one of those ones where it's like completely anecdotal and some people are going to get completely thrashed by it and some people are going to have that thing where they just hit 21?
I mean, maybe, yeah. I could see that being the case.
I don't even know how to evaluate this card. It's
Like,
cool.
It's
It
a total
is.
risk reward.
It's very
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
The biggest hurdle for me that I noticed, especially in that Trish deck, was that was my only resource gain. And so there were times when I needed resources and I was just empty, and so then I couldn't play this because the 2 cost. I just didn't have the 2 resources for it.
Couldn't pay to play.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair.
So that was the one thing that felt like, okay, this isn't the end all be all of level 0 resource gain cards, but at the same time, it was so damn fun that maybe it is the end all be all of level 0 resource gain. So
Yeah, I think kind of where I'm at with this one is I think if you're just talking about efficiency, there's probably better cards. This is probably not the best option. Like, because when you're talking about gaining resources, usually you actually want those resources and you want a consistent amount. And so you just want to be able to rely on it to be able to pay for a certain card, whatever the case may be. This is just a really fun card and mechanic and lets you play blackjack in the middle of a game of Arkham. And yeah, it's totally a fun proposition, which is kind of cool that exists because that's what this clearly is to me. Obviously, yeah, it's a risk reward thing. You might be able to gain a crazy amount of resources.
right.
Most of the time, you'll probably be about like an emergency quiche. Or you might just totally bust, which happened to me a couple times.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really tough. Nick, I think you pointed out my biggest hesitancy towards this. If I'm playing an event for economy, the 2 cost is a problem because a lot of times I just can't get there, or some encounter effect has taken away my remaining resources. I'd be interested to know, and Aldo posted it in the chat here. Has anyone crunched the numbers? Because this isn't like actually playing blackjack. You're not playing with a standard playing card deck. The odds have to the probability curve, if you will, I'm assuming that's a thing, has to look different. And I imagine there are either campaigns or difficulties where your odds of getting 20 or 21 are probably statistically significantly better.
I mean, any campaign that's going to have more than 2 skulls in it right off the bat, like Carcosa, and there was another one that had 3 right away, wasn't there? Oh, Dream Eaters. You get to 3 pretty quickly in that first scenario. Like, those are automatically, they're going to start swinging your odds because you're looking at more 5s. Yeah, I mean, but again, it's so damn fun. Like, just deal with it. Bring Jacqueline.
Yeah, I don't even know how to begin crunching the numbers. Obviously, It can be done. It's just not something for me. But I wonder, like in real blackjack, it's like 17 is kind of that threshold where you wanna hold. I wonder if on this one it's actually 16 because your chance of drawing a token and getting 5 are pretty good. Once you're at 16, whereas if you go up to 17 and draw a 5, then you're busting at that point. So
yeah, but like
slightly changes the math. I don't know.
I mean, I think logically, yeah, but Ian, if you're putting this card in your deck and you're paying 2 resources to play this card, you think you're gonna look at 16 and be like, yeah, I'm fine walking away with 2 resources right now?
No,
hell no, you're not. You're not doing that. If you're playing this card, you are in it to hit that 21.
If you're playing this card, you're a certain kind of person.
That's true. That is true. I don't know. I couldn't even begin to say whether this card is ultimately good or efficient or something anyone should play, but damn, I'm glad it exists and it's really fun. And like extra bonus for the fact that you can cheat on this card in The House Always Wins.
Yep.
That's pretty great. All right. Let's move it on then to counter espionage, which is a level 1 rogue event. It's 2 cost. It has 2 willpower icons. That's okay. Hard pause on that.
What?
A green card with 2 willpower icons.
Has to be a type. It'll be errata to have no icons.
Yep. They actually subtract from your total.
It has favor and service traits. Fast, play when you would draw a non-weakness treachery. Cancel that card's revelation effect and draw the top card of the encounter deck. Reaction, when you play counter espionage, increase its cost by 2, change the encounter deck to your deck. So cancel the top card, draw the top card of your deck instead. And then reaction as well. If you play when you play counter espionage, increase its cost by 2 to change you to any investigator. And I'm with Alduk on this one. This card just costs 4.
Agreed.
Right?
I think
yes.
I think only in desperation when you can't afford otherwise, you will pay this for 2 on a terrible card, and this is just like Malison.
Yeah. But I mean, that flexibility is what's great,
Yes.
which is similar to Intel Report and Decoy, obviously, and the damage one that
Small
I never
favor.
play. Yeah, small favor.
Mhm.
But yeah, I agree. Most of the time, you're probably going to be aiming to do it's a big swing to go from, instead of a treachery, all of a sudden you're drawing from your deck. So that's a big swing in your favor.
Yeah,
but also the
Mystics have to plant a seed and like wait 10 years for the tree to grow to get that kind of fucking effect.
Yeah, but how much does that cost the Mystic for resources?
It's 1 or it's
Yeah,
0.
exactly.
It's 0. It's 0. Yeah.
This is a super good card, in my opinion, just in the context of rogues who, if they have a weakness, it's usually willpower and it's usually certain treacheries.
Yeah.
To be able to just say no to a Frozen in Fear,
Oh yeah.
or something equally punishing for a low willpower rogue is worth the cost of admission alone. Because yeah, I think when you're including this and you're facing a scenario, you're just gonna have certain treacheries in mind that you'll let most of them go, but there's certain ones you already know. I mean, assuming you know the scenario, obviously, and it's
Right.
not like a face check play. But other than that, it's gonna be really targeted. But yeah, because like, not to say Mystics don't need Ward of Protection and Cancellation, for example, because they do. But I feel like this is even more valuable because at least Mystics have high will to pass a lot of treacheries. Right. Whereas this, in the context of Rogue, is like kind of a silver bullet for one of their big weaknesses.
Yeah, I mean, you can run Mystics without Ward, and it's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Agreed.
The most recent place I took this was in a Preston deck, and this is kind of like a non-issue for most Preston decks, but it was something I found because in my particular Preston deck, I kind of spend his resources down a lot. I'm not like building a big pile. This happens during the Mythos phase, and Preston does not yet have his inheritance to pull from. So paying 4 for this sometimes was something I had to think pretty far ahead about.
Interesting.
So, just something out there for you Preston stands. I see you. Really, really good card, though. And the fact that you can just hand this to any investigator is, first of all, off color for Rogue. And second of all, just like super powerful. So, yeah. Pretty great. All right, Ian, I think you're up next. You want to cheat the system?
Always. Okay, so Cheat the System is a level 1 cost 0 rogue event, intellect and agility icons, trick and synergy traits. Fast, play during any free trigger Zappy Boy window. Gain 1 resource for each different class among cards you control. Yep, we've talked about some of the other synergy cards so far. This is the resource version. It's fast, which is immediately catches the eye.
That's very nice.
In terms of resource, because most of the time you got to spend an action to get resources.
I played this in my Lola deck, believe it or not.
Sure, of course he did.
Synergy is interesting. I we've talked about this, but I think more and more that synergy is not necessarily a deck type. It's a little bonus you throw in if your deck jives with it. Like if you're already using multi-class cards, or if you've got an investigator who just has access to things that will be out, and you'll have a decent array of classes represented among your cards, then you might look at synergy. I don't know that you're building for it, but I can tell you that, in that Lola deck, this was getting me 3 or 4 resources pretty regularly as a fast action, and that was pretty okay.
Sure. Yeah, I think in order for synergy to be like a new archetype, we would need a couple of bomb synergy cards, and we really don't have those. The synergy cards we have are all kind of like staples that give you something extra if you're synergizing, you know? So
well, there's like one in each class, so it's not like there are
exactly.
many investigators who can take a lot of synergy cards.
Exactly, yeah. So, but no, I think this is it's a cool way to do it. It makes sense being the rogue synergy card. Like, yeah, get those resources. Fast is nice, like what Ian brought up. That is the most attractive thing about this card, I think, in general. And I could see it being worth fast if, fast 1 card, 2 resources. Like, is that worth a card slot in your deck? Maybe not, but if you're going 3, like if you have 3 classes represented, which is pretty easy now, I mean, that's pretty great. A fast emergency quiche.
In the click economy, fast and 2 resources is equivalent to an emergency cache.
Did I do it
know,
right?
I never hear anybody talk about click economy as much as
it's been so long. It's been so long.
Like that type of player in Arkham has died a long time ago. Like
they just learned not to say
that
anything.
Early Discord thing, yeah. Leave Kermit out of this, Archie. Finally up.
I'm going to cheat the system here. Hey-ho.
The well-known click economy advocate, Kermit the Frog.
It's not easy being mean.
Yeah, I said this last time around for whatever synergy card we were looking at, that I think you think about what's the standard case, which is probably 2 to 3 classes worth of cards, which feels worth it to me. I feel like the fast part makes this sneakily good. Like, I look at this and there is a part of me that goes, am I really going to spend a couple XP to get 2 copies of this and take up spots? Like, I'm probably good with just a regular level 0 resource. But then I feel like that fast part might be sneakily good, that it can pop some resources when you need it and save an action. And maybe there's some utility to that fact you can play it during any Zappy Boy window and not just during your turn, like a lot of cards ask you to do for fast.
Agree. All right. Nick, you want to take us to Untimely Transaction?
Sure. Untimely Transaction is a level 1 rogue event that costs 0 resources, has a wild icon, favor traded, and its game text reads, reveal an item asset in your hand. Another investigator at your location may play that asset as if it were in their hand. If they do, draw 1 card and gain resources equal to that asset's printed cost. Kind of like 21 or Bust. This one, to me, wins on the fun factor. But on the efficiency or even practicality factor, I'm a little less hot on it. I haven't actually tried it. To me, it reads as a Bob card, and that's it. I struggle to think of rogue items that the rogue would be keen on giving away. You know what I mean?
This might be good in Bob because just by nature of him having a lot of items that might be useful. You're not going to get to use his special action on this, though.
No.
Which is weird because it does feel like this is kind of meant for Bob, right? So it doesn't necessarily jive with his action, just kind of maybe more what his deck type is going to be.
Right.
This pushes me in the kind of direction, and Ian will back me up here. Like this is a card that grants you an ability that just pushes you in the headspace of where you just lived when you build decks for multiplayer Lord of the Rings LCG. Drink.
Yeah.
Like in that game, you could just play attachments on other heroes, like on your other players' stuff, and that was just a rule. You could just do that. Right. But you need things like teamwork and untimely transaction here. So it's not a headspace I get into a lot in this game, just because it's not there by default, but there have to be some really cool things you can do to give an item to someone who's not normally meant to have it.
Yeah,
Surely. I don't have any good examples.
That's the that's the thing. There's nothing
surely.
that like stands out as like, ooh, now I can give someone my switchblade. You know, like, so I don't know.
Yeah, it would be certain items. I know there are other similar rogue cards that we've looked at in the past where I've made a similar comment, but that it's tough in Arkham because even in multiplayer, at least for most of the multiplayer games I've had, you kind of come into it building your deck to be self-contained and have the cards you need. Like you don't build it to be dependent on another deck, which, like Sean mentioned in Lord of the Rings, was a thing where sometimes you would build complementary decks that do rely on getting cards from each other.
Put Asphaleth in my deck with no Glorfindel at all.
yeah. It's meant for someone else at the time you put it in your deck, and usually people don't build their Arkham decks that way. Right. So I think you could bring an untimely transaction and open up a whole new world of possibility thinking about cards that you might, and it likely wouldn't be cards that each class has their own version, like weapons.
Right.
It'd probably be more specialized items. Even some of those like weird rogue exceptional item assets, you know, I don't know if there's something there. There might be, but yeah, I think it would have to be something a little weird and it would require a lot of forethought. Probably not something you just throw in there without thinking about what you're actually going to use it for.
Or would the real strength of this card lie in rogue as off class, and would someone like Leo, you know, throwing a bar to a character, or, you know, one of the big guardian items.
Sure.
Would that might be a little more reasonable, I guess.
Flamethrower.
Yeah.
Here, take my spare.
Here you go.
I think the problem is...
oh my god, a party of everyone with a flamethrower.
Yeah, I mean, that's where you get into like ridiculous territory where it's like, all right, well, if someone can pull that combo together, they're probably just using the flamethrower anyway. So this is just kind of another one of those cards where it's like, it's wacky space to get into. I'm sure it's cool and you could do some fun stuff with it. It's a cool like net benefit generally to the group because you're getting the resource cost. So it's not like, well, I guess it's kind of net neutral, isn't it?
Well, you're drawing a card off it. You're drawing a card, you're getting the... No. Yeah, you're right. Because they're spending the resources, you're getting the resources, you're drawing a card. Nah. So I guess in a way it's a weird resource gen card. Like, why I didn't even think about it that way. That's weird.
Yeah, because you get the resources, and you're also potentially helping out another investigator.
Right.
I suppose if you're doing this in Bob and you've got like your Schaffner's catalog out, you're paying for it and then also getting the resources off of it.
That's true.
That's probably decent. That's interesting.
I also think the timing is interesting in terms of just like that you're allowing someone else to play an asset on your turn. And I think in multiplayer there's some situations where you can time it so you know you go first and help someone surrounded by enemies play an item out. And then they can take their turn.
You drew a night gun.
Attacks.
Yep. Here you go. Here's my extra Mauser. Have fun. Bye.
This is all I got. It's my decorated skull. What do you think? Huh?
Yeah, it's cool. I'm sure I'll maybe someday think of a cool use for it, but I'm not quite there yet. Ian, we must figure out a Lord of the Rings type combo.
I'm sure it's possible. Yeah. Just requires putting that mindset back on.
All right. Well, then let's move to Savant. Savant is a level 1 rogue skill. It has a wild icon. It is innate and developed. Savant gains a wild icon, or gains wild icons equal to your lowest skill other than the skill being tested. So
Okay.
So, we looked at, God, what were the other ones? Defensive stance. We looked at
Yeah.
the seeker one, which is like survey the area or something like that.
Something like that.
I still don't have my encyclopedic knowledge of this. This
No,
expansion
getting them all at
down.
once like that kind of ruins that.
Yep. Yeah. This one's interesting because it's not just like adding two skills together. So like you're
Right.
looking at your skills. This is like so investigator dependent. It's
Yeah. And it comes in the class that has the most investigators with ones. That's just me guessing. I don't know if that's actually true or not. But like I feel like more rogue investigators have ones in their stats than others. I could be wrong.
You can say it willpower.
Yeah, right. That's pretty much it. That is pretty much it. Unless you're Preston. I suppose Preston is kind of bringing that average way down. So yeah, I don't know, but it starts with one, unlike all the other skill version, like the other class versions of this. It starts with the one icon, so you get that little bit of a boost. So even if you are rocking a one willpower, it's still an unexpected courage. And if you're testing willpower, then it's probably a 3 or a 4.
So, am I reading this correctly that this is not your skill, your lowest base skill, right? Like if you've got one willpower in Winnie and you've managed somehow, hypothetically, I don't know why you would, but you've managed somehow to get static boosts up to like 3, then you could still use 3.
Well, it doesn't say printed. So
Yeah,
I would
that's what I'm
imagine that
saying.
you
It
would
doesn't.
use,
Yeah.
you would
Okay.
use your adjusted skill value.
Yep.
Okay. I looked at this in Lola.
Sure.
Because automatic 4 icons. Fuck,
Yep.
I throw curses in the bag for that shit.
Yeah.
Jenny's not a bad one.
Jenny. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. That's where my mind went immediately. Is just like all of the investigators with 3s across the board who often get slated for having 3s across the board. This seems like their card. Are there any other all 3s other than Jenny and Lula that I'm forgetting?
I think those are it.
That's it, baby.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so I guess the ultimate question is if you've got an investigator who, reliably their lowest skill is a 2, are you taking this?
I mean, I think you would take this over. Well, I was about to say I think you take it over unexpected courage, but the one experience, like, I know it's not much. It's easy to get one experience, but at the same time, there's probably tools that are more important to your kit to fill that one experience slot. So this, I could see you taking this late campaign, like when you're just kind of like, well, what do I spend experience number 38 on? But.
Yeah, it's getting tougher and tougher to find 1 XP when there are more and more 1 XP cards in the game.
I feel like this probably gets significantly better in like decks that have the Crystalline Elder Sign or Dark Horse or
sure.
Geish. I'm just going to continue pronouncing it that way. Sorry. Everyone's just going to have to make their peace with that. Geish. If you've got one of those cards out, then suddenly this gets a lot better.
Yeah.
But God, I don't know. We return to this every time. I don't know about skills that just boost your skill value anymore. That's not cutting it for me in most decks. I need a card draw. I need a bonus. I need to move afterward. I need an extra. I need something out of it other than just help me boost my skill most of the time. So,
Yeah, I guess it's nice in terms of like triggering succeed by 2 stuff, getting extra icons versus what you might have in unexpected courage or something similar.
Sure.
But yeah, I generally agree. Especially, there's so many good rogue skills that actually give you good stuff for succeeding.
Right.
Like Savant might help you get that good stuff, but then where are you finding the room to fit this in the deck? I don't know. Like, I definitely want to try this in Jenny for sure because it just seems like
I think that's the best.
It's crying out. But
use for
other
it.
than that, yeah.
Jenny, Dark Horse Silas.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw that one out there. Because you can take it back with True Survivor. That's not
very
nothing.
true. Survivor.
Yeah. I mean, that's about where I'm at with it. It's probably a play style thing. Maybe there are people out there screaming like, no, they're just good times to just have skills, skill icons to throw.
Sure.
Yeah.
But in my skills, I'm using the skill for the game text more often than the icons.
Right. Yeah. I agree.
TikTok, Ian.
Right. The red clock is broken but reliable. This is a level 2 cost rogue asset with a wild icon, item, and relic traits. Exceptional, uses 0 charges. Forced, after your turn begins, either place 1 charge here or take all charges here as resources. Then, if it has exactly 1 charge, you get +3 skill value for your next skill test. 2 charges, you may move up to 2 times. 3 charges, you may take an additional action this turn, and it takes up the accessory slot. So
The
this
gift
is one
that
of
keeps
those...
on giving.
Yeah. This is, I don't know what phrase I have for this suite of rogue cards, but all these like weird, exceptional relic rogue items.
They're all your sneaky hobbit treasures.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nailed it.
What rogues are they're all right, fuck you. This card's amazing though, right?
It
Yeah.
seems really good. I haven't used it yet,
Yeah.
but yeah, it seems super good.
I have played this once, and it was in my Lola build. I included it because its ability is a forced ability, and Lola's class limitation cannot stop the clock from ticking. So it was very, very good there. So you're like just getting a skill boost out of the gate's great. Moving up, like just all of those things that you get. Every tick is a really cool thing. The third one, like 3 charges, is just universally good. The other
Yeah.
2 you maybe need to do a little bit maneuvering for.
Right.
Probably the second one is the one that is most like positioning dependent. So that's the one where I felt like maybe on tick 2 was not where I was getting like the maximum value out of it. But then when you get past 3, then you just like cash in 3 resources and
Yeah.
you start the cycle over again. It's for 2 resources and just you throw it down and it just does its work. It is busted but reliable.
Yeah, it's really good. Low cost, like you mentioned, and the XP isn't too bad for exceptional. You're only
Right.
talking about 4 XP. Like the other exceptionals, the one downside here is just having a single copy. But yeah, but it's relic traded, which helps a lot in those cases. So any of your tricks to grab relics can help here. But yeah, just generally, I think it's one of the stronger of the what did you call it, Sean? Bilbo's
Hobbit.
collection of goods.
Hobbit, yeah, something. I don't know.
Yeah,
Your sneaky hobbit toys, I think, is what I said.
Sneaky Hobbit toys, yeah, all right.
Oh boy, we'll workshop it.
It's so easy to remember.
Just rolls right off the tongue.
There you go. It's an ancient matham.
There we go.
It's a matham. Tolkien
Yeah,
came up with that word, right?
I like this one a lot. Yeah, it's one of those weird made up Hobbit words.
Sneaky Hobbit words.
All right. So one thing that I thought was interesting, unlike Borrowed Time, which specifically has its own type of uses, it has clicks. I kind of assumed when I first read this, I just blew right past charges, and I assumed that this kind of had its own uses. You can charges play with this a bit.
Well, yeah, in limited investigators, but yeah, you sure can.
Yeah. So you've got Akachi, you've got Ursula, who basically anyone who can take this and the Selfist. Who's it? Ursula, Lola, Trish. Is that who?
Yep. Trish.
The sophist would be so good.
Yeah, like you could do some weird shit with the sophist. Like
Yeah, because he can just do that each turn, just move a charge from the red clock. So like if there was one of these that you wanted to just chill out on, like an extra action or moving up to 2 times, you could do that, right? You would just keep moving the charge off and stay where you want to be.
Yeah, I mean,
And
that
you
sounds
could
right.
put the charge somewhere else. Yeah.
yeah, that's
Although-
interesting.
How many other assets does Rogue have access to that are charge dependent? I feel like that's a dwindling number. Like, if you're going Akachi-
Suggestion, blur.
Oh God, yeah, you're right. I always forget about the spells.
Yeah, remember when Rogue got spells, guys? Wasn't that
Yeah.
fun? 3 years ago. Yeah, God, interesting. Okay, let's continue our talk because it's still relevant to the upgraded one.
Mhm.
Is
Oh,
Nick?
I gotta find the upgraded one. Hang on. I was on Money Talks, but yeah, let's go to the level 5. Okay, so the red clock, level 5. What does it gain? It gains a wild icon. And its game text is the exact same, but for 1 charge you get +4 to the dex skill test. For 2 charges you can move 3 times, and for 3 charges you can take 2 additional actions this turn. I think if you're getting the level 2, you go to the level 5 if you can, like no brainer. And I think the level 5 version, well, God, though, 10 experience, holy crap, that's a lot. It's worth it, but it's a lot. Oh, Psychopath in chat says, important difference on this one, you don't need to choose between charging it up and taking the cash. Oh, yeah, you may take all charges here as resources. Well, look at that.
Yeah, so you can take all the charges as resources, and then a charge will get placed there. So you don't really need to wait that turn to have it go back to 1 charge,
Right.
which is great.
So how do you feel about the 10 experience? Have either of you played with this? I'll ask that first.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
Nope.
neither have I. Did Sean have to step away? I didn't.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Okay. Yeah, so I haven't either, and that 10 experience, that's a big hurdle for 1 card. But God, that's really good, especially because you have control over when you get the resources or not, and everything's basically increased by 1, like 2 actions for 3 charges.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, it's
10 XP, though.
anything that costs 10 XP just makes my my forehead wrinkle a little bit. It's a lot. But then when I think about, like, I really need to build this deck now, but if there's someone who can take this and the Eldritch Sophist, because you could just stay on one of these. Like, just imagine if you always have 2 additional actions per turn, and then you throw, like, the Manatee in there, and you just have, like, 3 extra actions each turn. Like, okay, good game in counter deck.
Versatile skids, and you're just buying actions and getting actions off of this, and holy crap.
Yeah, it's rough. It's one of those things where, like, it feels more palatable in standalone, where just spend 10 XP on it, versus a campaign where usually you're gonna have to save up over multiple scenarios to get to 10 XP, and that can be a little tough. That's what I find is the big stumbling block for cards like these. But if you're gonna kind of build everything around this, and you probably are going to want some relic tutoring too if you're doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, is this basically like a rogue seeker play? Like, because all the cards we're talking about are seekers.
That seems like the best choice. The next closest, I think, would be rogue mystic. Because then you got enraptured and there's like recharge and stuff like that. So,
yeah.
Winds of Power.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe.
true.
I don't know.
That might actually be the better choice because there's more tools than just the Sophist gives you more control, but it's only the 1. Whereas Mystic gives you more cards in your deck that can do it. But then you're also kind of devoting a lot of deck space to powering up a single card.
Yeah. Um, well, I mean, the thing is like you don't even need to combo this card, right? Like you just throw this in. It's so good by itself without any other support.
Turns
And
out
then
if
on
you
top
just
of that,
play it,
just
it
gets
works.
absurd.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really good.
And I was talking about this. I can't remember where I was talking about this. I think it was when I was playing last time with a board member, Kyle. But my brain was not prepared for the deck space that would happen from in the thick of it entering the card pool alongside Versatile. Like,
Yeah.
like there are just so many stupid things you can do now that you never have to account for before because someone can just like start the campaign with any old ass level 0 card. Insane. Any final thoughts on the red clock? Besides everyone's wanting to run out and do that sophist build.
I know. I just want to go straight to doing that instead of doing something productive after the show. No, my final thought is just the subtitle of Broken but Reliable seems pretty fitting.
Surely it does. All right. Well, let's move on then to Money Talks. What? We've seen this before. So Money Talks is now a level 2 rogue event. It is 0 cost. It has a wild icon. It is favor and gambit traded. Fast. Play when an investigator at any location initiates a skill. I feel like that's pretty important right there. Instead of the skill type indicated for this test, this is a resource skill test. The performing investigator's base skill value for this test is equal to half the number of resources in your resource pool, rounded down. Draw a card. Okay, so first of all, fast draw a card. You already have my attention. And then on top
What,
of
this
that,
thing replaces itself without costing an action? Yes.
yes. It now has a wild icon. You can target an investigator at any location, and like my initial thought the first time I was reading this was like, oh, okay, but it's going to target like their resource pool because it's their connections, right? But no. You can play Smog and just this is Charlie Kane's card. We don't have Charlie Kane yet, but this is his. This is for him, and it's really good. I mean, obviously, it requires a very specific deck type to be played. You have to be sitting in a lot of resources for this to be good. But beyond that, holy cow! For two XP, this is a hell of an upgrade.
Yeah, I think the hardest part for me with this card is just getting used to a world where there's lots of kind of support or selfless rogue cards that you use to help other investigators.
Ooh, what a painful paradigm shift this must be.
Ian's like, terrible card. Hate it.
Why did they give the option? Now people are going to expect you to help them. No, I do think that build is legit interesting. Like, I'm so used to playing rogues as like speed run, go as fast as you can. But I think more and more with a lot of these Edge of the Earth cards, that there's this idea of like, yeah, there could be a rogue support deck. Like even the card we looked at a little bit back, which I've already forgotten the name of, that lets you cancel someone else's treachery. Like we're getting
Counter espionage.
Yeah, counter espionage. We're getting a few different rogue cards that just let you support and help other investigators. While also, here drawing a card or giving you resources. With some of the other cards we looked at. So yeah, I could see a build forming around this, which is pretty interesting, where you're just obviously piling up money so that you're actually helping with this card. But yeah, I can see the bones of that deck forming.
What trait does Parallel Skids work off of? Is it Fortune?
I believe so. I gotta double check. It's been a while since I...
Because if it were this, like Parallel Skids being able to take regular Money Talks and then upgrade this Money Talks and leave both of them in the deck would be pretty cool. But I think it's Fortune, not Favor.
Yeah, I believe so.
Damn. Well, there's a non-bow for you. Go ahead and want something that you can never have. All right, let's move on to Black Market. Ian,
All
you
right,
see what
so
Alfred
Black
E. Newman has for us.
So speaking of this rogue support world, Black Market is a 1-cost level 2 rogue event. No icons, but the favor trait. Fast play at the start of the investigation phase. 1 at a time, reveal cards from the top of any investigator's deck until exactly 5 cards have been revealed. Set those cards aside out of play. While set aside, any investigator may play any of those cards as if they were in their hand. At the start of the next investigation phase, shuffle each of those cards still set aside into its owner's deck.
This is
Yeah.
a fun, like... It's, well, 1, it's really fun. But 2, it's also kind of exciting to do this as, like, a grief play. But... you'd have to be pretty lucky with the cards you get, I think. But it's cool that it pulls from any investigator's deck, turns them into stuff everyone can use. It's fast, so it doesn't really cost you much to set that up. But there's also the chance that you could just get a bunch of stinkers, like a bunch of cards that are pretty situational, and there's only like one useful thing in there.
Sure.
Oh no, Psychopath in chat says 2 words, double double. Uh-oh. That seems insane.
I like it.
So now, reveal cards from the top of any investigator's deck. You basically just get to choose each card where it comes from, right? So you could kind of like...
Oh, really? I assumed it was you pick an investigator.
Decks. Oh, see, that would make or break this card for me if you just get to pick. Because that's way more about, like... knowing who's got what left in their decks and what might be useful, right? Because, if your Mystics just got a bunch of spell play cards in their deck, then who really cares?
Right.
You get to skip them, hopefully. But, yeah, you pick one at a time. Okay, Chad is confirming that's how it works.
Yeah, then this is a lot better than I expected.
Yeah, that's pretty great. That's pretty great. It's bringing me back to old Arkham Horror board game days too, like like 2nd edition or Eldritch, where you have the common supply.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
This card should have been called Common Supply.
It should have. Come on. So it seems cool. This is like all of these rogue cards are the ones where it's like I need to have tried it before I can talk about it. You can tell which ones I've tried because they're the ones that actually have something useful to say about.
I have not tried it, largely because this is another one that I feel like it's something that I would want to play more in like 3 or 4 player games, really setting up like a support type build to find, because it is like 2 XP, so it's not something that you're just like on a whim including it in your deck.
Sure.
I mean, you could. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life, but probably you're consciously seeking out these types of cards if you're spending 2 or 4 XP on it. But yeah, I find it super hard to evaluate because it just you kind of need to try it out and see how it goes. But I definitely see the value. You're just revealing a good amount of cards that anyone can access. Obviously, it's a little hard to control exactly what comes out. But if everyone's taking the Scott 30 good cards approach, then in theory it should work out fine.
Well, yeah, and like even in solo, even if you're just selfishly playing this card and you pick yourself every time, this is a fast 1 resource. See the top 5 cards of your deck, and you've now just essentially drawn 5 cards for this turn. If you're playing like Underworld support, or maybe an investigator with just a smaller deck size, like that can be a significant portion of your deck that now you just have access to this turn for 1 and fast. So, like, even the cute stuff aside, that's pretty good.
True. I guess the tough part for me would be, like, how much XP do you spend on something like this to enable finding the other cards versus spending XP on the cards that you want to find, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get you.
If you get enough XP, you can do both, and I think enabling cards to find good stuff are super important in Arkham, as they are in most card games. But Just a thought. Just I think it's something you have to balance.
Yeah, the wheels need grease usually to move smoothly.
Yeah.
In this weird mechanical metaphor I've set up. Interesting. God, like I am next time I'm planning for a like 3 or 4 player campaign. I'm playing Rogue and I am trying the fuck out of all of these weird ass cards.
Iron
just
Man,
to
baby.
see- well,
Drop
Scott will
Gloria.
yell at me. Scott will disown me.
He'll get over it. You got 2 campaigns to do it with, so you know, just pick one of them.
I mean, you joke, but Gloria could take half these cards that we've talked about.
I mean, you know what? When you're right, you're right.
Yeah, I know originally in my head I was like, I want to try out this rogue support build for Iron Man, but it's also such high pressure situation.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar nor comfortable with support.
I suppose I could swap from Carolyn's support to like Jenny or something, someone that gets a lot of resources and.
Well, no, then Daniela will die from
Yeah,
horror.
yeah, that's true.
I'm gonna need you.
I'll run
All right.
Liquid Courage.
Yeah, okay. All right. I'm sure that'll do the job. But actually, Liquid Courage for Daniela is actually not bad. Anyway, moving on. Nick, you want to take Moxie?
Sure. So Moxie is a level 3 rogue asset that costs 0 resources, has 2 will and 2 agility icons. It is talent and composure traded. Its game text reads, fast. Limit 1 composure in play. You get +1 will and +1 agility. Non-direct damage / horror must be assigned to Moxie before it can be assigned to your investigator card. Zappy Boy, spend 1 resource. You get +1 will or +1 agility for this skill test. And it has 3 it can soak 3 damage and 1 horror. I mean, we've talked about this already with the Guardian and the Seeker versions. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's super great. 3 experience is, you know, that's a decent amount, but it's fast, it's limited soak, and it is a passive boost at the very least. So I really don't think there isn't anything to not like about this card.
Well, the one that you're worried about on this one is the sanity, right? So you really want to avoid taking that horror if you can. And like the willpower boost and the ability to pay for further willpower boost in Rogue is just going to help you stave off that horror even better.
Yeah, it provides a good balance between the stat that you want to be using a lot, agility, and honestly, there's probably lots of other agility boosters you can use in Rogue. But then you pair it with the will boost, which is obviously something you need with a lot of rogues, most rogues.
Right.
And then even the health soak it gains, like 3 health it's not nothing. That's like a meaty ally's worth of health soak. So all things put together, this is a really good card for Rogue.
Yeah, I feel like this is probably in the upper half of the new composures. Is that fair to say, you think?
I think so.
Sure, yeah.
Especially for the class it's in, like of all the classes who can like position themselves to just spend money, to just throw money at a problem. Rogue's pretty okay at that.
Yeah, it asks very little of you other than 3 XP. That's the most it asks of you. But once you get past that hurdle, everything else is pretty smooth sailing, I think.
Oh yeah, Phileon says in chat, 3 health in Safina is no joke. And I just frankly, I always forget Safina's rogue. I just count her among mystics. But yeah, this is this is a really good Safina card.
Yes, it is for sure.
Cool. All right. Well, let's move on to the Black Fan, Symbol of Power, which is a level 3 rogue asset. It is 3 cost. It has an intellect, an agility, and a wild icon. It is item and relic traded. It is exceptional. So it's another one of those sneaky Hobbit toys. While you have 10 or more resources, you gain +1 health and +1 sanity. 15 or more resources, you may take 1 additional action during your turn. 20 or more resources, you gain +1 to each of your skills. And it takes up a hand slot. So Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we know who this is for, right? Preston. The fact that I had to say it, like, come on, guys.
We have to leave you out to dry at least the once. Cross it off the bingo card. Yeah, like the Preston, Jenny, big money type decks. This is really a strong enabler for those Smaug builds.
It's strong there, but is it useful anywhere else? At 6 experience, I don't think anyone
Jenny
else
likes it.
Yeah, Preston and Jenny, yeah. Like if you're going for those big money builds, but like
Oh, you're saying outside of a big money build?
yeah, like outside of those specific deck
No,
types.
because you'll never use the ability if you're not specifically building your deck to amass resources.
Right.
Yeah, you're not getting 10 plus resources unless you're big money usually, unless you get really lucky somehow.
Yeah, this is the card that you buy mid to late campaign. Most of the time you're playing this like mid to late scenario when you've got your pile of money built, and then you slap this down and you're in battle cruiser mode.
Sure.
You know, the review in Arkham DB says this is a spectacular card for Calvin.
Shut up. Yeah.
How does he take this? Calvin can't take this, can he?
Is there more in the review than just that?
Oh, just teamwork it to him. Okay, yeah, see, there you go. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not in that mindset in Arkham ever.
yeah.
But
Like, that just broke my brain.
how does Calvin get that many resources? Are you teamworking him 20 resources too?
Well, you could draw thin.
A lot?
You could take heart a couple times.
Yeah. Oh, geez. No. Okay. I don't get it.
Interesting.
This is fantastic in Calvin if you put nothing in your deck that costs resources.
Oh, we haven't got to it yet but it's multi-class. Unscrupulous loans. Loan could could boost you up there pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And if you're just gonna sit on it, then unscrupulous loan is just literally a freebie.
Yep, you're right.
Oh, it wasn't me, to be fair, but thanks, network. Yeah, I mean, this is just I really like this, as I think Psychopath said in the chat, a capstone card for the big money builds. This is a really cool thing to just be able to windmill slam down after you've amassed your gold and just reap the benefits the rest of the God, +1 health, +1 sanity. This would be really good in Calvin. Here's your card that where like black market and all of the other things that we mentioned earlier might be worth actually taking a look at. Bob,
Sure.
Bob could just include this in his deck for Calvin. Like that's reaching even further down that path where like not only are you planning an item in your deck for someone else in Arkham, but you are spending your own ass XP on it.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but it is a thing you could do.
But Bob is also one of those investigators who may not be sad to also have this. You know what I mean? Like if you build him a certain way, he could make use of it. So
Yeah.
I'm sure there's crazy things you can do with it. It's just mostly, often in playing the big money Smaug builds, I felt like there was a little something missing, and it feels like it was this card.
and it was more money. Yeah.
I'm gonna link the article for the law of diminishing returns. after you hit 20, I don't know what you're doing. Okay. All right. Love it. We already did the red clock, so that gets us through the rogue cards, as is our custom. Maybe let's leave them on a cliffhanger and do one purple card. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Perfect. Ian, I think we're to you.
Down the Rabbit Hole is a mystic asset, null costed because it's a permanent. Limit 1 per deck. Purchase at deck creation. After each scenario of a campaign, reduce the experience cost of the first 2 cards you upgrade before the next scenario by 1. Increase the experience cost for you to purchase new cards by 1.
This is a card that could only have been released now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're fully right. You're absolutely right.
I haven't used this. I've played a couple of Mystics since it came out, but I haven't used this card simply because it's about 50-50 for me between how many times I upgrade existing cards and how many times I grab new ones. And I would much rather take double arcane studies than this. Because arcane studies is like you gain a trauma, but you get the free experience from it. That is studies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you get the
No,
the
it's
trauma.
arcane research.
Research, whatever. The other, yeah, okay.
Studies is the talent skill.
Wait, no. Is it? Okay.
It's the
Whatever.
talent skill. Booster,
Anyway,
yeah.
the permanent one that gives you trauma, but you gain experience boost on spells. I like that better because the trauma is generally, like, especially in Mystic, mental trauma is pretty easy to take care of or to play around. And this one, like, making those special big cards harder to get kind of takes a lot of the fun out of the game for me. Because those are often the cards that I'm like excited to grab and put in my deck, the ones that I didn't have an option to do before. So I don't know. This one just kind of, it plays against my personal preference for how I build a deck. But have you guys used this?
No, I'm kind of in the same boat as you, Nick. Where as soon as I saw the clause about increased experience cards cost for new cards, my mind turned off. I like getting new cards into my deck. That's the fun part. So I am biased against this, which isn't so much again about this card. I love that these cards exist, that we're getting more and more permanents that just tweak how you approach upgrading or building your deck.
Right.
We're just getting so many more of these options, and I love that part of it. It's just this particular one that's just not necessarily my cup of tea. Like,
Right.
I see the use because there are a lot of Mystic cards that just straight upgrade from the originals. Like, I could see, spell slinging Akachi where you're just taking your suite of spells and you just upgrade them through the chain, and this will accelerate that a lot. But it's just not the most interesting, I guess.
I really like this for, like, if you're going to hand a deck to a beginner.
Oh, sure.
Because then they just kind of work with the same deck throughout the campaign. The cards just get more powerful. I also really appreciate that both of the investigators who can take this card in this box, it's actually pretty fucking terrible for them. Because the ones that can take the cards that they can upgrade, they only get like the 5 at deck creation. So like, you have fun.
Yeah, it doesn't really fit the edge of the earth.
That said, does it work where you pay an extra 1 to get a new card into your deck, but then if that new card that you've gotten into your deck then upgrades, later on you would get that experience back by upgrading it? Super corner case, I know, but is that how it works?
I think so, yeah.
So, that's something.
Sure. And Mystic, I think, has more of cards like that like start at level 1 or 2 and get bigger than any other class. But even still, I think those are pretty few. Like, it's maybe a handful.
I'd actually be interested to know which class has the most cards with duplicate titles, where there's just an upgraded version of it.
It's got to be Seeker with all
you
the
think it's
side
Seeker?
quests. All the side quests?
Oh, yeah, that's a pretty big one. That's a pretty big one. I was going to say Mystic because there's like 2 levels of a lot of the main spells, but yeah, the side quests for Seekers gotta do something for that equation. And this works for the side quests, right?
Yeah, it would.
Okay, well, I know my next deck. Side quest Daisy, here we go.
I was going to say it's another Daisy deck.
Or Rex. Rex could do it.
Yeah, but you don't play Rex.
That's true.
Why would you?
Because why would you play Rex? I would be very interested to see a parallel Rex that actually plays heavily with curse tokens now that we have a curse mechanic.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
MJ, once we get past the core set, please. No, well, first, please parallel Lola first.
Yeah,
but then
she should have
parallel
been top
Rex.
priority.
Then parallel Rex. yeah, I don't know. This is cool, and I don't know. It's good if you're fine just kind of figuring out what your deck is at level 0 and then just kind of sticking with that mix. Um, I don't know if you take this and you're getting 2 bonus XP pretty much each scenario, right? Are you going to be okay to spend a couple extra throughout a campaign to add the like 1 or 2 new cards that you really want into the deck that you just kind of have to like take that part on the chin? You're still coming out at a net benefit.
Yeah, I think realistically you'll hit a point where you have that extra experience because you've upgraded your core cards, and you're like, I'm okay spending 6 on Seal of the Seventh Sign or whatever it's called.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, mathematically, I think it checks out, but it just feels bad.
Yeah,
I'm sure it is kind of a net gain or breaking even eventually, in some cases, but it's just like XP feels so valuable that having to spend more for a card just feels bad. But maybe that's just my own hang up. I don't know.
I'm there with you though, Ian. Like, how many times have you finished a scenario and you get like 6 experience and you're like sick, and you go immediately to like the level 5 stuff or the level 3 stuff to get, and to look at the cards that you couldn't get, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think mechanically this one's got a really cool benefit to offer, but it comes at a cost of like very much dulling the emotional experience of leveling up.
Yeah, I'm super glad it exists for other people.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a while before I look at this one, except for Side Quest Daisy. Very much looking forward to trying that shit out. All right, and I think we'll wrap the player card reviews there. We'll pick up next time with Dragon Pole. So, guys, let's move it into a little bit of lax and loose tentacle time. See what I did there? See what I did? Because anyway, Nick, what's been grabbing you lately?
Not a whole lot. Well, I've been playing more video games, like finding time away from the table. I talked about Descent last time and how I've been playing that. That's kind of slowed down recently, and I've been playing more, but nothing new video games. I've been playing XCOM 2 and New Game Plus on Dark Souls 2. But Ian and I and Max and Josh and Case and Justin. Is that everybody? Did I miss someone? And Dave.
Dave doesn't listen to the podcast. It's fine.
No, but people do, and they can tell him, and then I'll never hear the end of it.
He was only on our board member of patrons for like 2 years.
The gang's all back together from our Rime of the Frost Maiden campaign, and we are now streaming our next Dungeons & Dragons campaign. We're 2 episodes in, so it's still really early. You haven't missed a whole lot, and even if you want to go back and catch up those 2 episodes, they're on YouTube. The campaign is a homebrew setting. The campaign's called The Skies of Artithus. There's a lot of, not yet, but there will be a lot of high-flying airship tomfoolery and floating island shenanigans, so get excited for that. We stream every Tuesday night from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. Central Standard Time, and that is at twitch.tv/Nicholas Corey, so I would love if you'd come and check it out one of these Tuesdays.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, though.
Okay. Ian, how about you?
I'm in the opposite boat where there's a bunch of stuff, and so I have to pick and choose what I want to talk about. The first is a movie that Nick has been recommending me to watch for a long time, and I finally watched it, and that's The Raid Redemption. Please, everyone, go watch it if you haven't watched it. It's so good. I'm obsessed with this movie now. It is like that, and Fury Road are like the top of action movies for me now. Of like, this is the peak of action movies where they've just mastered it. Probably the best fight choreography I've ever seen in a movie. I think Nick has probably talked about it on the podcast before, so I won't go over the plot again, but it's like super simple plot, but gives you what you need to a group of police in Indonesia who are raiding this drug den, basically. But as those things do, it goes poorly and they have to fight their way back. But yeah, it's just amazing. I've been really hankering for some great martial arts choreography in movies, and that's just amazing. They're doing this cool Indonesian martial art, which I wasn't even familiar with before. And yeah, it's just great. So, and the soundtrack I love. I listen to the soundtrack a lot. Mike Shinoda from Linkin Park did all of the music, I think. All the music.
I want to say all, but that'd probably be wrong.
Yeah, and the end credits song I'm obsessed with. I keep playing it. It has Chino from the Deftones doing the vocals. It's great. So yeah, just so much that I love about that. It is very brutal, so if you don't like violence in movies, go ahead and pass it up.
Maybe don't watch it around your kids.
Yes, definitely do not. Yeah, it's great. I love it. And kind of somewhat related, I usually play way more tabletops than video games, but a new game, Sifu, came out that I've been waiting for a long time, since it was first revealed to me, and it just came out the other day. So I'm already obsessed with this game. It is a martial arts game, kind of a beat 'em up brawler, but 3D. It's not like old school style beat 'em up brawler, but the martial arts fighting mechanics feel really rewarding. Choosing between dodging and parrying and stringing together these combos, weapons, interacting with the environment. It has an interesting mechanic where each time you die, you come back to life, but you get a little bit older. So you start off at 20, and once you get past 70, then you start getting to game over territory, because no one lives past 70 in the real world, right? And then each time you die, your death count goes up. So like if you die one time, your death count is 1, and so when you die, your age goes up by 1. But then if you die again, your death count is at 2, and next time your age will go up by 2. So you get when you like clear out certain rooms or do certain things, your death count will go down. So you really need to do that, because otherwise it can get out of control. Like when I was playing the club level and I went from like 30 to 70 in a very short amount of time.
I suppose that's how exponential growth works.
Yeah. But it's fun. It's way more challenging than I thought. I think everyone was surprised by the difficulty level, because a lot of times these like brawl or beat 'em up styles aren't necessarily the toughest, or they have like variable difficulty. But this is pretty unforgiving, like because it's really designed to reward like playing these levels over and over and figuring out the best ways through and enemy patterns and all that kind of stuff. And I didn't know that about myself, that I would like that. And this game has revealed that I do, because that was one of my sticking points whenever people talked about Dark Souls or Bloodborne, where I was like, I don't like difficult video games. Like I used to when I was younger, but these days I don't have time for that. But then Sifu has really showed me that I do, because I've been pretty obsessed with this game where I gotta squeak in another run and see, because basically it's like what's the youngest age I can make it through this level, for example. Like the first time around, I think I got out at like age 35 from the first level, and now I've gotten it down to like 27 and keep trying to get it down. So yeah, it's that kind of mechanic where it's really rewarding, like practicing, try it again. But because of the theme, which is a theme that I love, like it's a homage to a lot of martial arts movies, and there's so many elements of the first level where I'm like, they had to have seen Raid Redemption, because like as I'm heading up a staircase, and fighting. So yeah, so I guess I'll stop there. I definitely recommend it. If you don't like hard games, though, probably not for you. Some of the mechanics are a little kind of complex in terms of aging and leveling up, but for me it's just a good like fighting martial arts time, and you just get some when you string together a cool move and it rewards you. It just feels very rewarding.
Ian, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. The Dark Souls games and Bloodborne, they aren't really all that difficult.
Nope.
There's a couple of moments where it's like, okay, this is a skill check boss, or this is a DPS check boss, where it's like you just can't get past it unless you're at a certain progression level in the game. But overall, like, they seem difficult at first, but they're once you get the hang of it and get into that rhythm that you're talking about, where it's like, you know, see what this level or this zone is trying to do and figure out how to counter it, they're really not that difficult. So
if you
get on
find
Bloodborne.
if you find yourself getting into a game where you just find yourself thinking, all right, let me do that again, but do it right, then you have it in you to play Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sifu has taught me something about myself.
Dude, okay, look, I
that's
know
what Sifu is for.
I know. I think I've gotten dramatic about this on the podcast before, but like playing through Bloodborne and like just mastering that cycle of struggle and overcoming it has legitimately rewired my brain's ability to deal with like challenge and like challenge that I opt into. You know, if life throws shit at you and you have no choice, then you just fucking figure it out.
Right.
But like shit where like it's challenging, so I was avoiding it, you know, in days past. Like now that I've kind of gotten through Bloodborne and those games, and it legitimately changed the way I approach gaming. I'm still salty as fuck, but I continue to do it. And I suppose for my part, I went to a concert, and
What are
this is out of-
those?
well, yeah, all right. So
I
first
forgot
of
what
all,
that's like.
this is super out of character for me because I am actually pretty on the cautious side of the spectrum since COVID started. But as I mentioned in podcasts before, in Tentacle times before, my kiddo really, really, really fell hard into System of a Down as kind of like her first big band that she kind of broke out and just got obsessed with. So, you know, who am I to stop that? But back last May, I don't know if you guys remember last May. Do you remember last May when the vaccines were rolling out?
I've
and
heard
numbers were
stories.
going down and like everything looked really fucking hopeful. Well, back in those naive, heady days, all she wanted for her birthday was to go see System of a Down, and the only fucking place they were playing is in L.A. and like Las Vegas. So I tried to resist it at first. I tried to counter offer her, but then when she was like, "Oh, if it's money, I have allowance. I'll spend my own money on it, Dad," and like you can't withstand that shit. You can't, especially when it's something that you're kind of proud of your kid doing to begin with.
Yeah, especially when it's System.
Yeah, exactly. So like at a certain point, my just like fatherly pride and my want to just give my child what she wants and when it's reasonable and cool, I caved and we bought tickets and we're like, okay, things are gonna look better. So those were originally tickets for October of 2021. Concert got canceled because the lead singer Serge got COVID the night before we were heading out. They did a show the night before, tested positive the next morning, canceled the show, or moved the show rather.
Yeah.
Anyway, went out in February. If my kid had not had such hope on this, I don't know if we would have gone, but we ended up doing it. They required vaccine verification, and at the beginning of the show everyone was wearing masks.
Oh, sure.
Once everyone had a couple drinks and was like fucking sick of singing along through masks, most of them came off by the end of the show, and there was really no enforcing it, but you know that I knew that was going to happen.
Right.
But anyway, it was really good show, and it was the first concert I've been to in a very long time. It was Korn, who, you know, I was an angsty white boy in the early 2000s, so I did listen to Korn, and I quite like Korn. But I forgot what a good live band they were. Holy cow. And they just played all of their old shit. Like, I should show you guys the set list. It was just all the songs I knew and I got to sing along with. And then System came out, and they were really cool. As they are. They haven't written any. They've got like 2 new songs since 2005. So that was simple to follow. But what I thought was really cool is so you know how when you go to a rock concert and they're setting up for the band, the roadies will come out and you like watch the stage, and like the roadies will like, you know, like fucking play the drums, and you'll get to hear the sound stuff getting set up and shit. When System was getting set up after Korn stopped playing, they put out like these big Persian rugs on the stage because I guess System just plays with Persian rugs on the stage, and then drapes went up around the stage. And then all the roadies set up all of their equipment in obscurity. So we
weird.
sat there inside. This crowd sat there in silence for a while, and then the lights went down, and the song started, and the curtains dropped, and we were just fucking in it. And it was the coolest thing because normally when a band starts, like the lights dim, and they've got like some intro music that's like canned intro music that they play, and then they come on stage, and maybe they. Yeah, but like it was just all of a sudden lights went down and we're in, and they played for like 90 solid minutes.
Nice.
Their set list was crazy long, and really fun. And you know, it was a risk. Came back tested negative. You know, I'm vaxxed and boosted, so
that's
you know,
the real success right there.
For real, dude. Like I was sitting there in that concert going like, man, I am enjoying myself, but there is no way I'm not getting COVID from this.
Don't think about next week.
But somehow I didn't. And that somehow is the boost. If you're not boosted, go get it. And yeah, anyway, just a really good show. It was a painful reminder that how much I enjoy live music. And also kind of a painful reminder. So you guys know me. I'm pretty extroverted, and I don't normally, well, in my past days, mind crowds. But I've found that COVID has worn down my tolerance for large crowded areas just a little bit. And you know, maybe that's just me like crossing the border to 35. Maybe that's what did it. But boy, by the time we were done with that concert, I was like, yeah, I just need to be where the people aren't.
Yeah, Ian and I mentioned that to Ian when we were setting up for our stream a couple weeks ago, and I was like, it's weird now to think like how Gen Con probably just isn't a thing for me anymore. Just like the thought of getting back into such a close space with that many people does not excite me in any way. So unfortunately. Yeah,
COVID sure has made things a little bit more complicated in that regard.
It's changed perspective. Yeah.
It sure has. Oh well. Well, that's it for me. So thanks everyone for joining us on episode 123. We'll catch you guys next time.